Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtake Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Nalinanetraya Venuvadya Vinodine Radha Adhar Sudhapana Shaline Vanamaline Mahabhavasvarupasvam Krishna Priya Vareyasi Prema Bhakti Prade Devi Radhika Tvam Namostute Gita Sugita Kartavyam Kimanye Shastra Vistaraye Yat Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmat Vinisrataha. So text number chapter 2 and text number 25. Now again the Lord is going to explain the qualities of a soul. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryo ayamuchyate tasmadeva viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryo ayamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. Translation and purport. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Purport. As described previously, the magnitude of the soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invisible. As far as the soul's existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shrutis or Vedic wisdom. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of the soul. Although it is the fact by perception, there are many things we have to accept solely on grounds of a superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of the mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness, and conscious, that also is the statement of the Vedas. And we have to accept that. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. As eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite Supreme Soul. The Supreme Soul is infinite and the atomic soul is infinitesimal. Therefore, infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul or the Supreme Soul of Godhead. This concept is repeated in the Vedas in a different ways, just to confirm the stability of the conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error. So in this particular verse, it's explained that soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Avyakta, achintya, and avikari. Avikari means immutable. अव्यक्त है, अचिंत्य है, and अविकार्य है. उच्यते, अच्युत नहीं है. It's उच्यते.
I am in this.
So, what is the modern ways to see things? It is based on the perception of senses. But soul is so minute that there is no microscope which can see the soul. And that's why it is difficult to see him. So in that regard, how one has to understand it? One has to understand it through authority. Because there are few things that you can't understand by practical way of life. You need to understand them from the authority, proper authority. And Prabhupada gives example like a father. Who is your father? Who can answer that question? Father. You can't go run around the whole world and get done the DNA of each and every man to find out your father. Just simple thing. Ask your mother and she tells you. And you have to accept that authority. In the next verse, Lord says, Adha jainam nityajatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitam arhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life is always born and dies forever, you still have no reason to lament. Oh, mighty arm. It's a simple thing. If it is going to take birth, then definitely it's going to take birth again. And if you think it dies forever, then just say, just forget, then there's no birth again. Why you have to learn that? There's always a class of a philosopher almost akin to the Buddhist who do not believe in the separate existence of a soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such a philosopher existed. And they were known as Lokaitikas or Vaibhashikas. Such a philosopher maintained that life symptoms takes place at a certain natural condition of a material combination. The modern material scientists and the materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements. And at the certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo religions, now becoming fashionable in America, are also adhering to this philosophy, as well as the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of soul, as in the Vaibhashika's philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of a chemicals and stop discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, in the modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vaibhashika's philosophy, the so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So, in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is in an atomic soul or he did not believe in the existence of the soul, he had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of a matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such an incident. If there were no rebirth for the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected by sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as a Mahabhavu, mighty armed, because he at least did not accept the theory of the Vaibhashikas, Vaibhashikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As a Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to the Vedic culture and it behooved him to continue to follow its principle. So here, history has explained. This verse indicates that such a philosopher existed even at the time when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. These Loka Itikas and Vaibhashikas. Who are they? They consider there is no existence of soul. Yavat jivet sukam jivet ridam kritva ghatam pivet bhasmi bhutasya dehasya kim punaragamanam bhavet. Why you have to worry? Eat and be happy, be merry. Huh? Beg, borrow, or steal and enjoy your senses. Huh? Because they don't believe that soul is eternal. They think with the body, soul dies. So just forget. Huh? Before turning into ashes, mess up with your life. That's their philosophy. So for them, Lord has said, be careful. Athachainam nityajan jatam nityasya va manyasya mritam tathapi tvam mahabhavo nainam shochatam manasi. Don't fear Mahabhava Arjuna. Anyhow, that doesn't matter to you. If soul is dying or body is getting vanquished, nothing is lament for you because anyhow they are going to destroy it. Then if you kill them, where is the sin then? Huh? And then Lord says, now Lord starts with the Karmavad. He says, Jatasya hi dhruva mrityur dhruvam janma mrityusya tasmad pariharyate natum shochitum arhasi. Do not lament, O my dear Arjuna, because one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Then why you have to? One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. Karmana daiva netrena jantur deha prapatyate. The activities that you perform in this life causes you body in the next life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. Apannam swam smriti ghoram. You are going to get this samsmriti. Samsmriti means repeated birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Ye sansare khalu dustare kripaya paye pahimurare. That's what Sadi Shankaracharya says in Charpat Panjana. There is a birth and again there is a death. And it will continue unless and until you take shelter at the lotus feet of Murari. So another thing Lord is explaining Arjuna. Why you have to lament? Whoever has taken birth, he has to die, and after death, he has to take birth again. The cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessarily murder, slaughter, and war. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in the human society for keeping law and order. Because of a fear, if kings start stopping the punishments for murderers, then how things will happen? There will be no law and order then. And to maintain law and order, violence and war are inevitable. The battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. And to fight for the right cause is the duty of Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid by avoiding the discharge of his proper duty. He would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. So here, one has to take birth according to his activities in his past lives and die after finishing this term of actions. So that means this shlok does not propagate about unlawful slaughter and murder and wars. People may think then, okay, if it is certain that one has to take birth and die, then let me shoot. But that is not according to the law. But violence is an inevitable factor to maintain law and order again. So battle of Kurukshetra was meant for that. It was a dharma yuddha. It was not just common war, first, second, third, not like that. It was a religious war fought for certain principles. And ultimately, it was the Lord's desire. As it is clearly said, the battle of Kurukshetra being the will of the Supreme. So it was inevitable event. It has to happen. So whether Arjuna fights or not, but it's going to happen. It's with Arjuna or without Arjuna, that's going to happen. So Lord says, why you have to think so much about it? Why you have to lament? Why should he afraid of the or aggrieved of the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law by becoming subjected to the reactions of sinful acts. The duty of Kshatriya is fight when he challenged. So he's explaining Arjuna, why you have to lament? Get up. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatra ka parivedevana. Then he says further, Arjuna, death generates no loss, irrespective of the philosophy followed. Therefore, there is no cause of lamentation. All created beings are unmanifested in their beginning and manifest in their eternal intimate interim state and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation? Theoretically, it has explained. Accepting that there are two classes of philosopher, one believing in the existence of the soul, and other not believing in the existence of soul. There is no cause for lamentation in either case. Kumar, non-believers in the existence of the soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if, for argument's sake, we accept this atheistic theory, there is still no cause of a lamentation. Same that yavat jivet sukam jivet pranam kritam jivet tasmai bhutasya dehasya kim pularayamani. Apart from the separate existence of the soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before the creation. From this subtle state of non-manifestation comes manifestation, just as a form, ether, air is generated. Just as from ether, air is generated. From air, fire is generated. From fire, water is generated. And from water, earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestation takes place. Take for example, a big skyscraper manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains. Oh, thank you. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of a time, things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what cause is there for lamentation either in the stage of a manifestation or in unmanifestation? Somehow or other, even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the time, both at the beginning and at the end, all elements remain unmanifested. And only in the middle are they manifested. And this does not make any real material difference. And if we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in the Bhagavad Gita that these material bodies are perishable and due course of a time, antamanti me deha, but that the soul is eternal, nityasyoktaha sharirinaha, then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of dress? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is something like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in the sky or sitting on a chariot as a king. But when we wake up, we can see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of the non-existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of the soul or one does not believe in the existence of the soul, there is no cause for lamentation for loss of the body. So it is crystal clear now that he should not lament for the destruction of body or killing of his own kinsman. And then Lord tried to culminate his refutation of argument of compassion that Arjuna has put forward. And he explains about soul, how it is. Ashyavat pashyati kashyidenam ashyavat tathaiva chanyah आश्चर्यवच्चैव मन्यं शृणोति श्रुत्वापि एनं वेदन चैव कश्चित्. Some look on the soul as amazing, as it is inconceivable, and what is else? Immutable and imperishable. So Lord says here, someone look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all. So that's not possible. See how funny this whole situation is ours. We don't know ourselves and we try to judge other people. How funny is that? As Prabhupada said, the outside world, they called us crazy and we call outside world as a crazy. So everything in this world is relative. Everyone has his own perception. Mayavadis, they think we are fool, we are sentimental fool, and we call them as a dry-hearted, stone-hearted people, because Bhakti Lata will not grow in their heart. And they say we are the Sahajiyas and we are the sentimental fools. Who does not know about, for them perfection is meditating on self. And for us, perfection means friend is service, which is totally opposite. Since Gita Upanishad is largely based on the principles of Upanishads, it is not surprising to also find this passage in a Katha Upanishad. Shravanapi bahubhiryo na labhriyalya shrunvantopi bahavoyam na vidyuho ashcharyo vakta kushalo asya labdha ashcharyo asya jnata kushalanu shishtataha. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of space, is certainly very amazing. The soul, which is like a 10,000th part of tip of hair, can mobilize the small ant and gigantic dinosaur. And Prabhupada gives example, within an inch there are billions of viruses. Hey, PA, personal assistant of doctor. Where do they live? All these bacteria, amoebas, they create disease for you. Millions and billions, they are so tiny. Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of the individual atomic spark of spirit. Even though it is explained by the greatest authority of knowledge, who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe, owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in this age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both to great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by constitution or by description. Illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matters for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of a self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities results in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution to the material misery. So, soul is illusioned by the material energy, so he does not inquire about that. And that's the pathetic condition of the living entities in this material world. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by the appearance of the acceptance of the super soul and the atomic soul as one without the distinction of magnitude. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of the super soul. And all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul and is able to describe the position of the soul in a different aspect. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. Somehow or other, if you are able to understand, then your life is successful. That is Rupa Goswami says. The easiest process of understanding the subject matter of self, however, is to accept the statements of Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. But it is also requires a great deal of a penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous ones, before one is able to accept the Krishna as the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by the causeless mercy of the pure devotee and by no other way. Got it? Here the identity of living entity has given. What is the identity of living entity? It is not given in this shloka. It's given in next shloka. I'm just trying to test whether you are here or somewhere else. Or I'm just bab. Huh? See, actually this verse is totally explains about how difficult it is to understand about the soul. Because the thing which seems to be wonderful, adbhut, or someone look at it as a wonderful thing, because they can't fathom it or they can understand it through their material senses. And that's why it is said, it seems to be amazing. And Prabhupada says, somehow or other, if you come to understand something about this, then your life is successful. And then in the last verse of this discussion, Lord says, Dehi nityavadhyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natom shochitum arhasi. Here the identity of soul has given. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam dehe yasya bharata. Who is Dehi? Dehi means who resides in the body, in this Deha. And how is he? Nitya avadhyoyam. He is eternal and never be slain. You can't kill him. Then why you have to lament? Oh my dear Arjuna, factually soul is indestructible living entity within the body. Therefore, there is no need for lamentation. That's what Lord wanted to convey it to Arjuna for last 20 verses from 2.11 up to 30. So now the practical application for Arjuna is, as the Kshatriya, he should not abandon his prescribed duties out of a fear that his grandfather or teacher will die in the battle, but he should fight and follow his own duty. So here, the first thing that Lord has explained, and that is Jnana Kanda. Lord has explained the knowledge about soul. It's the first part of this chapter. And now from 31 to 38, Lord is going to explain about karma kanda, why Arjuna has to fight. And that we'll start discussing from tomorrow. So any question, any doubt, any comment regarding today's discussion, you are welcome.
मैं conclude करने का कि आपका मरता नहीं कुछ नहीं करते करते आपको मारते भागोगे ऐसा नहीं है।
इसके पीछे वाले पर्पट में लिखा है, नहीं तो लोग सब उतना मारना कूटना चालू कर। I'm giving you next chance. Better body. That is nonsense.
Some of people they are thinking like commit suicide and then we get better body, better condition, better life. They will know they will do it.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Arjun,
Tehi nitya thyoyam